Welcome back to Ready Set Live. This is Tyler, and today we'll be tackling the mountain of new reveals that we got as a community in the last 24 hours. As of this recording, all the first chapter of Disney Lorcana has been revealed. In order to make this information easier to take in, this analysis will be a two-part episode, covering three categories of new reveals in each episode. On this episode, we'll be covering Amber Amethyst and Emerald reveals. Before we get into it, please remember to like and share the content, as well as subscribe to the channel. Every bit of support helps grow the channel and bring new content to listeners like you. This episode is also sponsored by Texarkana Podcast Studio. Wanting to start your very own podcast or voice web series? Well, Texarkana Podcast Studio is the place for you. Whether it's true crime, sports, murder mystery, or a fun card game you want to talk about with your friends, Texarkana Podcast Studio is here for all of your recording needs. Check out the link in the description below to schedule your first session today. Texarkana Podcast Studio, where your voice is heard.
Ready, set, draw! Welcome back, guys.
How's it going?
It's going good. You might hear a little less voices today because we're looking a little lighter than we usually are.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really anyone's fault that Lorcana decided to dump a ton of cards on us. So we wanted to get this content out to you as soon as possible. So today we just have myself, Alex,
and Jacob. But the good news is, guys, even though it's just me and Alex, I feel like we have enough cards to discuss here because, as the intro to this podcast suggested, we have the entire full set released, revealed, unleashed upon the community in one big wave. So essentially, even though we're lighter on members to discuss it, we feel like we have enough to discuss, and boy, do we. So do you want to just go ahead and get started? Because I think the people have waited long enough.
Yes, they have. All right, so the very first card, we're going to start off with Amber. And the very first card is Rapunzel, Gifted with Healing. She's a 4-cost inkable, 5/1, and she quests for 2 lore. Her ability is Gleam and Glow. When you play this character, remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters. Draw a card for each 1 damage removed this way. This is the legendary that we were waiting for in Amber.
The other being Stitch Carefree Surfer, but I think I speak for everybody. I'll take conditional healing at a cheaper cost and actually get cards out of it, even if the other's guaranteed with like a condition that's fairly easy in Amber. Based on what we know now, just to kind of reflect for a second, Carefree Surfer at that 7 spot, if you're on the play and someone the turn before you is also on 7 ink, what's something that just came out recently at 7 ink that could totally mess up your condition for having 2 characters?
Be prepared.
Exactly. So I don't think Stitch Carefree Surfer in a board wipe meta, if that happens, I don't think Stitch Carefree Surfer is as guaranteed as he once was thought to be. But this Rapunzel, especially with the incremental bit damage we've seen from people like Han's 13th in line, when they quest, they get to ping 1 damage.
Yes.
I think characters like that, stuff like Stampede getting revealed, we're starting to see a little more incidental damage. Even like the Blaster they revealed recently, we'll discuss in part 2. Incidental damage is definitely going to be piling up more.
Yes.
So I see this triggering quite a bit.
Same, and I completely agree. And of course, I didn't mention, but it is a Storyborn hero princess. But in the princess decks, it's going to be amazing. But you can put this in almost any Amber deck. I mean,
yeah,
it's just card draw, and Amber doesn't have a ton of unconditional card draw, but it has some conditional card draw, and it's just another way to get some cards flown into your hand. And like you said, the incidental damage everywhere. Even, I mean, every steel deck I feel like is going to have the Tinkerbell and does 1 damage and everything. And they might finish off some of your stuff, but if they leave something with a couple damage left, then you can just start healing up and get cards. I mean, just getting the cards just makes this card insanely good.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, to think about, like, in my head, I already went to, like, oh, but Tinkerbell is on turn 6, so, like, could you ever play this on curve and get card draw? But honestly, I think you can because it shifts at 4.
Yes.
So especially if you're on the play, you can get responsive healing and card draw for it. So I think based on how we see card draw valued in this game, I think Rapunzel is to a point where even if she replaces herself,
one heal,
that's still a body in a princess deck that wants princess bodies on board.
Exactly.
So it's all you need is just 1 damage to make her worth it. And I would even say this, at 4 lore, your lore counts what you want in princess decks, so it's not like, or I think I said 4 lore. I meant 4 cost.
Yeah.
At 2 lore, even for 4 cost, that's a pretty fair rate.
Isn't that what the Maleficent is in Sapphire? She's 4 cost, 2 lore.
Yeah, and she's a 3/4 as
Yeah.
far as strength willpower. So because you just want Rapunzel to stick in princess decks, I think having a 1/5 body, like, yeah, it's not aggressive. You're not going to be taking stuff out much, but that's actually what you want.
Yes.
Is you want the high lore questers. So Rapunzel, even though I want to make a full disclaimer here too. We're discussing reveals that we have not discussed yet. So we're starting with Rapunzel because even though it wasn't on like the big wave of the full chapter reveals, it is where we left off from our previous episode. So with that in mind, our next card is Maximus Palace Horse, a 5 cost inkable, and he is 4 strength, 5 willpower, and 1 lore. But he offers one of the most unique synergies I've seen in Amber. He has bodyguard and he has support. So what do bodyguards like to do?
They like to turn sideways quest, and then now they're going to support.
Exactly. So. This is insane. And other than, of course, like niche scenarios where you have like Scepter of Arendelle to offer support to something, this is like baked in strength.
We spoke on that in our last one, talking about how the Scepter will be so good with a lot of the steel bodyguards. Of course, Amber as well, being the other ink color that has bodyguard. But it's really, really good. This is one of those, again, that it's so generic. Almost any Amber deck can run it. If you need a little bit of protection or a little bit of support, this card can go in. It being inkable just is gravy on top. I mean, they definitely made this card, and they definitely showed that, these keywords are strong. You know, so you're not going to get a ton when you quest, but you're going to get, like, lore-wise, but you're going to get a lot of support.
Yeah, and I also think that the first bodyguard we ever saw was Hercules, and he was a 3/3. So he was like the baseline bodyguard that everyone else compared stuff to. And something I noted was like, what's the second bodyguard we saw? Mickey Mouse Musketeer. So it immediately jumped to like, oh, a 2/7. And everybody's minds, and I'm guessing if everyone's like me, everybody's minds were like, so they're not going to give bodyguards like that high of strength. Like, that's not really going to happen. They're kind of worried about that because they know they're going to get punched, so they might as well not punch too hard back. And then they revealed Goofy, and they still stuck to 3 strength, and people are like, oh, it's getting a little better now.
Yeah.
Maximus has that punch. He has something. With that 4 strength, I feel like it's a really good break point because that means anything that's already on the board by the time he comes down, he's probably going to kill in the crackback.
Exactly.
So I love that stat line for a 5-cost bodyguard.
And I guess it can definitely be noted that with Goofy just healing Musketeers, correct?
Yes.
With Goofy just healing Musketeers, if you're not running Musketeers, you're going to choose this over Goofy.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to have the flexible character too, because I know several of the decks that I've built has had Goofy in it, and with Goofy in it, it was nice, but it was like, it's
just a means to an end.
It's kind of wasted, but it's okay. But now this is just another option that's even better in non-Musketeer deck list.
But I would say, like, Maximus as a whole, the list I've been putting him in, like the Amber list that's not Musketeers in particular, is the Princess deck. That's what he was like fitting into as a means of protection. But there's another card that's going to be in a Princess deck soon. And it is our next card.
And that is Cinderella, Gentle and Kind. She is a 2 strength, 5 willpower, 4 cost inkable. She has 2 lore, and she has the ability Singer 5, so she can sing songs if she cost 5. And then also her ability is a Wonderful Dream, Exert, remove up to 3 damage counters from a chosen princess character. So generic princess healing. Again.
Yeah, Rapunzel doesn't require it to be a princess to get healed, but Rapunzel's also offering you cards, and it's a one-time effect. I'm willing to pay the price. I don't know about you. I'm willing to pay the price of, like, it can't be any character, it just has to be princesses to get it repeatable on an exert effect. Yeah, you're sacrificing 2 lore, but this is one of the first cards I've seen that the card literally has 3 reasons to exert, 4 reasons to exert all the time. You could challenge with it, you could quest with it, you can sing effectively with it, and you can heal with it. So much like Cinderella in her movie, she can handle all the chores.
Yeah.
She can do everything.
It's
It's weird. Like she's inkable. I would expect a card of this quality with this much healing to not be inkable.
yes, and I'm glad that she is inkable because even though it is super strong, she can do a lot of things. She's kind of like jack of all trades. You know, she's not
Yeah.
a master in anything. She's good, like because Singer 5 is 1 better. You know, 2 lore at that. 4 cost inkable is normal. You know,
Mhm.
and then the remove heal up 3. So she's kind of just like a Swiss Army knife. You know,
Yeah.
and the incidental healing and extra little healing that the princess deck is getting is making it more and more intimidating.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it was already mid rangey, and now it has a way to survive late game,
Yeah.
especially to besides be prepared. You know,
Mhm.
it's damage based board wipes.
Mm-hmm.
So especially to those damage based board wipes, it's gonna be hard to take a princess deck
Yeah.
down without being prepared.
We're not trying to guess what the meta will be. We can just kind of make literally, we can make our guesses as to what we predict will be strong synergy wise. And I'd say they've kind of telegraphed like the tribal synergies they want to support. They've given you musketeers, they've given you princesses, they've even given you like a rogue villain setup, even if it's high costed. But princesses is one of those like it has value all along the curve. It has multiple abilities showcased with the tag. It has good stat lines, high lore. You need that to win, so that's what
Yeah.
you want. And this is, like you said, like a Swiss Army knife. And I want to bring up the phrase you brought up, a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
People don't remember the second part of that saying, oftentimes better than a master of one.
Oh.
So- Cinderella being repeatable, exert value, to me, is super intimidating against steel decks. Because, like you said, they have damage-based removal. And typically steel decks, they've gotten a lot of benefits of like grab your swords being a go wide, deal
Yeah.
2 damage to everything. But steel still struggles against your higher willpower characters.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So I think with Cinderella, steel's going to have to like save the removal for a one-shot combo.
Yeah.
Like basically, I'm going to hold off and not use my removal immediately to like handle small stuff. I know I'm going to have to handle big stuff, so I'm going to have to hold on to my fire the cannons. I'm going to have to hold on to 2 grab your swords
Yeah.
and like just sit there with it for a second and hope I can do both at one time to get enough damage to kill stuff. Because
Yeah.
this sitting on the board says, just don't waste your time challenging for 3.
Another thing I like about it too is it's not the top priority target for like a Dragonfire or a Let It Go. Because
Yeah.
it's good, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's annoying. But and like I said, we're not trying to predict the meta or anything. But to me, you go, man, that's a 4 cost, and I'm using my 5 cost card.
Exactly.
It's good, but man, I'd love to hit something that does more like a Moana or a Dreaming Garden. Of course, you have to hit it if there's a ward, but it's just insane
Excuse me, folks.
that it's not going to have a huge target on its back. So it's just going to
Yeah.
it's just going to be there.
And it comes down at that curve point where you're like, it's going to be set up where maybe that heal isn't quite ready to be used on turn 5 whenever it's ready to exert, but it's sitting there begging your opponent to use that removal before the 5 drop slot.
Yeah.
Which over many of the reveals that we go over today, there are so many good 5 cost cards.
5 and 6 are insane.
Imagine
That's where like the
sitting-
huge
Yeah.
jump goes.
I know that she can't heal Maximus, but imagine putting her behind Maximus
yeah.
and then just having her have the ability to sing or quest for 2 and just them knowing like I have to basically just throw my bodies at Maximus where he's probably going to get rid of them, or I have to use my targeted removal on something else, but I have to use it all at once because she's going to heal it.
Yeah.
It's
And it
so
is
good.
it is niche, but I was rereading the card. It is niche, but she can heal herself. It doesn't say
Oh
another.
my goodness.
So she, like if you
I
are
didn't
behind
even think of that.
behind a Maximus, you can swing with her, take out something small, next turn heal
Next
her.
turn healer, or use 2 Cinderellas. You know,
Exactly.
like,
yeah.
oh,
So
man.
it is nice that it's not another chosen princess. It is damage from chosen princess
Yeah.
characters. So
And
she can heal herself.
We've seen too that even though she's a 4 cost, I think that in the princess strategy, maybe you don't play steel. I get that, but she's still useful. Even if you want to use her as a niche singer, I understand you probably want to use Ariel instead because she's a 3 cost that can sing for 5. But
The option's nice.
singing for 5 means you can sing a whole new world
Yep.
on the turn that you'd want to play a whole new world. So it's
5's a
setting
big
up
number
nicely.
for singers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
So
I just want to say just real quick,
Yeah, go.
I am kind of feeling a little bit under the weather. So if you do hear a cough every now and then, I'm sorry guys. Just I've been dealing with a little bit of cough.
Yeah,
so.
we at least got 2 of us here.
Yeah.
One of us has a cough. We're making it.
Yeah.
What's our next card,
Our
Jacob?
next card is a card that I'm going to dread, but a lot of people are going to love. It shines in multiplayer to much of my sadness. It is 4-cost inkable action called You Have Forgotten Me. It is each opponent chooses and discards 2 cards. You know, there's an emerald card we're going to discuss later that does something similar, but it only makes people discard 1 card. And the thought process there is like, I'm losing a card because I'm playing it. You're all losing a card because I'm playing it. But this, you're down 1, everyone else is down 2. In multiplayer, you've basically got a 5-card plus advantage over the whole table. This card is nuts. I'm so glad it's not a song, that they didn't force it into a song effect somehow. But I can at least say this. At 4 cost, it is early enough that you could legitimately use this to empty someone's hand. But if you get to a point where you've sustained the late game, usually you're in top deck mode anyways, you're playing what you draw. So if you're a deck that can play what you draw and you're not a deck that relies on refreshing your hand consistently, you're not playing out all your threats. Like a ramp deck's going to ramp, and even if they get card draw, they've ramped enough ink to usually play all of their cards.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to find card draw, play it, and then play whatever they drew. This is usually going to be a dead draw at the end of the game. But it's just annoying enough that strategies will exist within Amber and Emerald that is about like hand disruption and control. I hate it, but I'm not ignorant enough to think that people don't love it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like playing against this card or playing
Well,
this
I
card?
will say on the bright side, you've kind of talked about it tends to lead more towards multiplayer.
Mhm.
It's going to get its most value there, so you might see it most there instead of in 1v1. There will be specific strategies with it, like you're saying, the Emerald really being a disruptive strategy. On the bright side, Amber isn't that much of a disruptive strategy. It's more of a character-centric strategy, so I'm glad it's in that color and not in another ink color. Like if it was in something like Steel with Emerald or something like that and just disrupt and control.
Ugh.
So it being an Amber is a blessing.
Yeah.
Because that is like probably the most
I didn't think about it that
character-centric.
way.
Yeah, so I don't know why it's an Amber card,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think it might be an Amber card just because they didn't want to give 2 of these effects to Emerald.
yeah,
You know,
Emerald or
oh my
Steel would be a
gosh.
hard one. Even Ruby because it can be controlling with the board wipes and then
Mhm.
Dragon Fires. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it'd be
definitely a
frustrating.
control-based card because it's just your opponent's discard 2 cards. So
It's an uncommon, so
And-
you're going to see it.
So you'll see it,
Yeah.
especially. But yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts on it. It's a simple card, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
All right, so we have 2 vanillas left. Alex, why don't you give us the 2 vanillas?
So we're just going to read these off real quick, maybe a quick discussion. But the first one is Mr. Smee, Loyal First Mate. He is a 3-cost inkable, 2 strength, 5 willpower, and he quests for 1 lore. The main things to note is he is an ally and a pirate. So
Nice.
if we ever get ally or pirate synergies, it will be good for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one that we're also going to talk about at the same time real quick is a 4-cost inkable Pumba, Friendly Warthog, which I'm so happy to see Pumba.
Yeah.
He's a 3 strength, 5 willpower, and he quests for 1, and he's an ally as well. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are hoping that allies get some sort of, just +1/+1 to all your allies or something. Just something cool, or they
Yeah.
gain 1. What if they got +1/+1 and 1 lore?
Dude.
But it'd be like a high-end card.
Yeah,
you know?
that would be insane, though.
Or it'd be
the-
for the end of the turn or
it'd
something
be
like
nuts.
that.
I would be personally more apt. I know with Marvel Snap, they added a card to High Evolutionary
Mhm.
that added abilities to all cards without abilities. And I do have a love for that kind of idea of like giving usefulness to things that didn't have usefulness before. But what's more likely in Lorcana is probably what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A stat buff.
A stat buff, yeah.
I do want to highlight real quick. I love the quote from the movie they used for Pumbaa's flavor text. You got to put you behind in your past. It's good. It's just good stuff. I will say with Mr. Smee and Pumbaa, they are weirdly similar, but the one exception being Pumbaa costs 1 more ink, but you only get 1 more strength for it. So
Yeah.
they're obviously saying like, it indicates that as far as vanilla cards, you want premium stats. Well, as far as premium stats go, that strength is going to cost you.
Yeah, and the nice thing that Pumbaa, this is just some side note, I know we're not going to talk about these long, but the nice thing about Puma is he can sing Hakuna Matata.
Oh, true.
So-
That's so yes.
With Timon not being able to sing it, I'm glad that Pumbaa can.
Yeah.
Because it means
Yeah.
no worries, and he ain't worried about nothing over there.
Yep. He's a 3-5. He's got a big butt.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that wraps up our Amber discussion. We're going to have future episodes of the podcast where we kind of deep dive into the ink as a whole, like looking at the entire ink's identity, what strategies we think it pairs best with, and stuff like that. So if you're wanting to see our analysis over the whole thing, trust me, it's coming, but we want to give you quality analysis over the new cards as they come in. So with that said, we're going to move on to the Amethyst reveals. So we're going to start with the previous card, like I said in the previous segment. The last card that we discussed was Reflection. Well, the card that followed that up, even though it wasn't in the first dump, was Elsa, Queen Regent. She is a vanilla, a 4-cost inkable 4/4 with 1 lore. I'm not sad because we already have another Elsa. It's not like Dr. Facilier where like the one you don't like as much came out first and you're just dreaming of the new one to come out. It's in this situation, you already have a quality Elsa.
Yeah, have a good Elsa.
And so, but she is the only 4/4 for 4 cost.
Yes.
So it's a relevant stat line. I just don't think you're going to play this outside of like
Straight Elsa on
straight
a dex.
Elsa on a dex. Yeah.
So
But-
why are we so excited about having another Elsa then?
Yes, because you always want to have targets reliably to shift onto. The beauty of this Floodborn character we're about to discuss is it gives you immediate action and it gives control decks the one thing they've been wanting in an unconditional format, and it's just locking down stuff. I mean, that's freezing. It was Elsa, Spirit of Winter, an 8-cost uninkable Floodborn hero, queen, sorcerer. She has 4 strength, 6 willpower, and 3 lore. With Shift 6 and the ability called Deep Freeze. When you play this character, exert up to 2 chosen characters they can't ready at the start of their next turn. Oh my gosh.
So
That's
good.
so good. With this kind of deck, I just think like, what is Amethyst usually doing on turn 6? And correct me if I'm wrong, usually on turn 6 is the turn where you're kind of like reeling an Amethyst, where you're wanting to get a refresh because you've played out most of your lower value stuff. And not low value, but like your lower cost stuff. You're looking to secure the board, refresh your hand a little bit, prepare for the late game. This card literally gives you a turn if you can shift out. It's a good payoff to taking that turn off essentially by playing like a turn 3 Elsa, the one that can exert a chosen character. If you play that early, you don't really get to use her until turn 4, and then she's a little vulnerable. You feel bad for it, but if you can kind of afford to just play her and let her sit there, this is a wonderful payoff on 6, because on turn 5, you get certain challengers online, or by turn 5, you get certain challengers online, and this not just makes them vulnerable. You can say, like, I'm basically going to like lock you down for a second. Like, you can take your turn. But
The tempo from this card is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
you locking 2 things of your choice, on play. It's not on quest, anything. It's as soon as you play this card,
yeah,
which holds its legendary status for sure. And being a shift and having, like we said, the 3-cost Elsa already
Mhm.
being really good.
Yeah.
This just makes it cherry on top. It's gonna be heavily seen. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're running the other Elsa, there's no reason not to at least run a couple of these in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Amethyst got a strong one here, and I
Yeah.
know they're happy.
Yeah, to me, it's weird because I already know that like control is not something everyone does. I like to think that like control is something that every card player evolves into, and then that's when they figure out if they like it or not. But you always end up trying control. What, like if you're a card game player that tests and tests and tests. This card, I think whenever people find control and they find this card and they try it out, they're gonna love it, and I think it's gonna spike the price. And I'm honestly worried for like if you do want to bling out your deck, what a foil Elsa Spirit of Winter is going to cost.
There's been some, like, you can, on the companion app, you
Yeah.
can look at the cold foils now and how
Yeah.
they shine. Check it out if you
It
haven't
is-
checked out the companion
It
app.
is beautiful.
It might be one of the best. I mean, that's
Yeah.
opinion based, of course, but
Yeah,
it's going to have a high
Oh.
tax on it, I feel like.
yeah. It's something that, as far as the gameplay is concerned with this, I also want to mention too, like the beauty of it being an on-play ability means you can capitalize on the other benefits of the card. So if she was 2 lore, I would feel like good body, it's a good decent stat line. I'll quest for 2 and I'll get to lock them down. But with this, unless they have 3 solid characters, you know you're gonna quest for 6 with this.
Yeah, because you're
Like,
locking
Yeah,
them down.
she's gonna get 6 lore. You're either gonna force hard removal out, which I'm not gonna say you're happy about, but like you paid 6 ink for her. If they use a hard removal, what is it? Dragonfire? Let it
I
go.
guess 9 ink
Yeah.
if you count the 3 you played earlier, but
Yeah, it's spread over turns though.
yeah, exactly. You did it on curve.
The
most
best
likely.
possible answer to this is like a let it go, where they
Yeah.
can exert something, but too bad you exerted something that possibly could sing let it go.
Yeah.
You know, it's oh my gosh, this card is going to be a staple in control. I think it's something that's definitely going to pull control players into Amethyst. I think an Amethyst Emerald blend is going to be your control-y colors. Emerald Steel might be Amethyst Steel.
Yeah, those 3 colors together.
They
Ruby has a
control in
little,
different
but yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
But
I think this one's
is-
really going to shine. Like, the more games you play and the more games you play against it, the more you realize, dang, that's a good card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like,
Mhm.
right now I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a really good ability. And we're talking like it's really good. But, like, when it's game ending time and you get locked down and you're like, wow, they just stopped me from winning the game.
yeah, you're going to think to yourself, man, if I would have just been able to quest with one of those characters, I would have won.
Exactly.
But it's a thing of beauty. It's a real thing of beauty. I love that even if you shift her on a dry or on a like not dry character, even if you play her for 8 ink, she still gets usefulness.
For sure.
That's what you want out of cards. So it's a great effect. But we're going to move on to the next card. It is one that I was actually on a live stream of the Hobbies and Happiness channel, and we were just kind of going over the recent reveals, talking about stuff, and then boom, the community manager comes in the chat and it's like, hey, can y'all hold on for a second? I got something for you. And everybody's like, you know, twisting their fingers saying like, ooh, what do we have here? Is it a card? And we're all thinking like, there's no way it's a card. Like, but bring it on. And they revealed this card on stream. So I was there to discuss it. Check out that Hobbies and Happiness channel. It's a great channel. We love Dan and Jim. 4 cost, inkable, Jafar, Keeper of Secrets. A 0 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore. But don't worry about that 0 strength, because he has the ability Hidden Wonders. This character gets +1 strength for each card in your hand. How many cards in your hand do you think you need for this to be like worth it?
At 4 cost?
Yeah.
I mean, at 4 cost, I'm thinking the other Jafar is what, a 2?
He's a 2/5
But he gets
with Challenger.
So I'm thinking if he
He
had,
only quests for 1 though.
yeah, I think if you have 3,
Yeah,
if
I
it
would
was-
say that.
I'd say 3, like you're feeling good. 2, you're feeling like, but
Yeah.
3, you're feeling good.
I can see for 4 ink, if I get 3 strength out of this guy, because you're going to quest with him as soon as you can.
Yeah,
But you're going to quest, and that's going to be like the first thing you do on your turn. You're going to draw, probably have 4 cards in your hand, have him be a 4/5, and you're going to look at the board and say, do they have anything with a 3/4 that I can kill?
yeah, you have to take out.
Or you can just say like, I'm going to play something. I'm going to ink something. So I'm fine with it being a 3/5. I think
Yeah.
if you play an ink down and it's a 2/5 and you quest for 2 on turn 5, I think you're thinking like, this is a little rough. But
it's not optimal.
yeah, but as a 3/5, he's technically better than any other vanilla statted thing for his cost.
Yeah, I like him because he brings a strategy into the game that isn't there yet with the hand, buffing him from the
Mhm.
hand. So
A lot of cards got revealed that really hurt him though.
yes,
with the hand disruption.
yes,
So
yes, they did. But I mean, he'll be played, and I mean, just like the steel card that refills your hand,
Whole New World.
a whole new world, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 7, and he can't sing it or anything, which kind of stinks. But I just think control-y decks will love this card. I mean, that's very hard to find what to cut in those decks, but it was a really cool reveal, and as someone who watched it from the outside, not knowing that you got to reveal, like the Hobbies and Happiness got a reveal on there, and you were on there, I was like,
sick.
is this happening? Is this really happening?
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, it happened. I was like, man,
Yeah.
that's so cool. So for everyone who was on there, that was really cool to see. And it was a cool. I mean, y'all got a rare card revealed on that stream. So
It's one thing I want to know about Jafar though is like it kind of happens on some of the discussion on Twitter. Shout out to the Twitter, by the way, or X as the app is called now. But I don't understand that. But that's another podcast, guys. That's Ready Set Twitter. The thing about Jafar that I've been seeing some people talk about, and I agree, is every other card game when you manipulate strength or attack or whatever it is, your mind races like, this could go infinite. It could be, it's like Slifer the Sky Dragon in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he can be 12,000 attack. And in a game where life points are a resource,
That's nice,
and
yeah.
it's really nice. But in this game, it's important to remember that like lore is what matters. You can have 30 strength, but if you have 5 willpower, you're going to challenge into a 5 strength dude and you're gone.
Yeah.
And you did nothing to actually like hardcore stop your opponent from winning the game. It's not like you hit them for 30. You quested for 2. That's what you did as a 35.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like an insane possible
it's
card.
a good card.
It's just cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to see that hand buff ability. You know, I guess the bigger your hand, the more you get buffed in the game.
It's
It
opening
shows that
another
they're thinking.
door.
It shows they're thinking about, because what if it was more willpower?
Yeah.
What if it was something like that, or what if it started off at 0 and it was uninkable or something, but each card in your hand it gained 1 lore pip, but it had 0 lore. I mean, the options are endless, you know. So just having that open on the table is what excites me about it.
Yeah. And honestly, like you said, it opens up a new possibility. Whenever I've been doing like Citizens of Lorcana on Twitter, I've been doing like his custom card. He's like counting down all the movies of Disney and like counting down to Gen Con and stuff. And one of the things that I love to do when I'm creating cards for that and just kind of brainstorming is like, what abilities have they not put in the game that we could imagine for the game?
Yeah.
And this is one of those things I'm like, well, I'm no longer unique for that ability. That's now in the pocket of Ravensburger. So good for them. But Alex, I think you have a pretty cool set of cards yourself. I got some Elsas. What did you get?
I am absolutely so excited about this next pair we're going to talk about. It is Dr. Facilier. This one is Remarkable Gentleman. He is a 3-cost inkable, 2 strength, 4 willpower, and quest for 1 lore. He is a villain and a sorcerer, Storyborn, and Dreams Made Real is his ability. Whenever you play a song, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them on the top and the other on the bottom. That is absolutely what we've been screaming for, begging for. He can sing Friends on the other side.
And ruling thing.
Yes.
Playing means you fully resolve the card, the song, before you get his effect. So I know it would be ideal to have him look at the cards before you draw them, but it at least lets you say, I'm going to draw 2 cards and then I'm going to fix my top deck. Whatever I get next. You get to draw 2 cards and then look. If he sings.
It is that way. Okay.
Yes.
It's been confirmed.
So it's been confirmed.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Whenever you play, it means whenever the card resolved, you got this effect. So it's not like, holy crap. But
but he'd be a legendary if it was that.
But it is still like,
or super.
holy crap. Like, it looks good. But what's the next one?
So to pair along with him, we have probably my favorite Amethyst card revealed. Friends on Their Side is there too, but he sings this as well. But it is Dr. Facilier, Agent Provocateur. He's a 7-cost uninkable, 4 strength, 5 willpower. He is a Floodborn villain sorcerer, which what do all Floodborns have? Shift. He's shift for 5, which is awesome because both the Dr. Faciliers that we have can both be used, and they're both probably good in the deck.
Yeah.
So he quests for 3 lore, and the ability that makes both of them very good is Into the Shadows. Whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge, you may return that card to your hand.
It doesn't even say on your turn.
It doesn't, and it shouldn't. This is so exciting.
Gosh, dude. He's 3 lore.
3 lore.
Okay. I want to talk about this card, but I also want to tell people and not like explain their feelings to them, but I want to just like share this thought I had today about Floodborns in general. I was watching an interview with Ryan Miller done at the UK Games Expo today, and he was talking about set 2. And he was saying in set 2, actually I think it might have been Eric Switzer at the Gamer, one of his in his Learn to Play demo video. Both videos were great, by the way. He was talking about set 2, and he was saying in set 2 they go into the Floodborns and like explain more of the lore of the Floodborns.
Oh goodness!
And I was thinking, that means we're gonna have way more Floodborn characters. It's got to, right?
I love them right now. Every single one of them.
Exactly. I was thinking every single time we get a Floodborn, you get not just tingles, you get a special kind of tingle of like, what could possibly be worth it? Like, it's so good. It's to me, I equate it the same way to one beautiful moment for anyone who likes Pokemon. The first thing to ever get spoiled for any new Pokemon generation is the starters. you like to see the starters, but what do you care more about?
Yeah, the final evolution.
What do they evolve into?
Yeah.
And so the Floodborn scratches the same itch. And at this card, it's one of your favorites. You take the charge here.
One of the very first things you go straight to is, I mean, with the other Dr. Facilier, is Challenger decks.
Mm-hmm.
Challenger decks are going to have a field day with this because they want to be trading. You don't even have to have board wipes if you're just trading.
Yep.
And this is just giving you that incremental value back
and
to
you
your
can
hand.
start questing with this.
It's a form of recursion in a sense because you're recurring it back to your hand and you can play it. And a lot of challengers are low ink cost.
Yeah.
They're like low stats because the challenger gives them the buff.
Yeah.
So they cost really well for what they are. So it will be good to get them back in your hand and play them again because, I mean, I just think of like Captain Hook Forceful Duelist. I mean, one cost, just repeating him over and over and over.
Yes.
It's like playing a Smash over and over and over, but it's one cost.
Yeah.
You just got to wait for turn for it to dry. I mean, and you can add Rush to this deck with the Pocket Watch. I mean, that Pocket Watch just got a lot better.
Zeus's best friend right here.
Yes.
It's, oh my gosh. Rafiki loves this card so much. Like you're saying, anything that has innate Rush.
And he can, I don't know the ruling on this. Interesting. So if you had two of these out and the other one challenged, it would go back to your hand.
Yeah. Both cards would go back to your hand.
Insane.
Yeah.
So you could play you could play and get more value. He's just a value train. He literally, this card, everybody, is a value engine himself.
Yep.
He does everything you need. You just play cards to support. He just does it all.
I would say in a gameplay scenario, with the way I imagine a game going when he hits the board, Dr. Facilier, not just because he has 3 lore, he dictates of like, we're in the end game now.
Yeah.
You know, as the Avengers said, it's you have to answer this or things are going to unravel that you cannot possibly fathom. I'm going to send people to the slaughter and just out-resource you, essentially. Yeah. And even if they're playing threats, challengers are usually, like you said, overstated. So you can usually play multiple of them in one turn and combine challenge and recur them back. Maybe even play them again on the same turn.
Yeah,
the fact that it's not just
mechanics
your turn, though,
that pair well with this bodyguard. I mean, obviously, having bodyguards to protect you, even the big Aurora, the Dreaming Guardian, just giving it ward. I mean, those are things that we like. Giving this character any sort of protection, allowing him to just do whatever he wants. But if not, you just leave him back. Like if you can't quest with him and he's just your recursion piece and you keep recurring and he just value trades everything, it's going to be insane. I mean, it'll definitely be, I would say, on the longer end of decks. It's not mid-range to high-range decks.
You can shift for 5 too. So that's like a really important thing. Like you don't even have to see him at the end game. You'll see him basically if you play Dr. Facilier in 3.
Yeah.
Sing friends on the other side next turn with him. Maybe you don't want to if this Dr. Facilier is in your hand, but like sing with him, get some card draw, ink something. Next turn you already have your extra ink from that card draw, set them up, shift.
Even in this just hit my brain, which is kind of sad because it's one of my favorite deck strategies. But the go wide strategies with Lilo and with Maleficent, just quest with them, keep questing with them.
Oh my
then
gosh!
Keep putting them back in my hand. Next turn I quest.
He's like a second Stitch, essentially.
Like
because
you keep getting them back to your
hand.
Grab
your swords; they all go back to your hand.
Oh my gosh!
No. Grab your swords would be damage based.
Yes,
so
it would
require damage.
It's in a challenge.
But
it has to be in a challenge.
But one of the easiest ways to stop the slow roll of Stitch, like if you have like a 2 or 3 character burst of Stitch, you have those meteor characters and you just chunk down the small stuff real quick. Like, don't get any more lore. I need to.
But they're back
stop.
in my hand.
They're back in your hand.
I can draw more.
You can draw more.
Quest more if I want to leave them up and not actually draw. I mean,
it's crazy.
Anyways, as you can tell, we're very hyped about this card.
Yeah.
But we will move on to the next one.
Yeah. The next card is actually very similar.
Yes, we're going to talk about this card only because it is really close to the Dr. Facilier that we first spoke about. But it's Ursula's Cauldron. It's a 2-cost uninkable, and it's an item, which is awesome. Peer into the depths is the item ability. Exert it. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one on the top of your deck and the other on the bottom. So with friends on the other side, you can play this first. So this is nice to get that top deck manipulation before you draw. And just know the knowledge of what's there is always good. I think this is perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
The uninkable makes it to where it's like, you can't play it in every deck because, we like to keep that count low enough. But
yeah, this card to me is nothing. It's nothing crazy, but I do feel like where I would see the most, like, where my mind initially went when I saw this was the item. Like,
Yeah.
the one thing item decks want to do, typically they want to have Maurice out, they want to draw cards. Well, Ursula's Cauldron is going to help you filter those draws and make sure that your items keep going with a good velocity and your top deck's not getting you really, really, really tough in a tough position. So having an uninkable card in items in an items deck is a little rough because Ariel herself is uninkable. There are some other items themselves that are uninkable that you might not want to maximize that with, but at least you know with Ursula's Cauldron, if you need ink, you can use the effect of Ursula's Cauldron to help find ink.
Yes.
So it's not like you're wasting your time.
Yes.
By
and if you like items decks, you need to listen to part 2 because it's going to be
nuts. Yeah.
There's other cards in that
Yeah.
part 2 that make this even better.
Yeah.
And helps it with its uninkableness.
Yeah.
But
So-
we will move forward with the next one. And just because we were talking about Ursula's Cauldron and all the lore bits they've thrown in there, the tentacles and Detective Mickey or the seaweed.
Yeah, seaweed
and Detective Mickey.
and the Duke.
And the Duke. And now we have the power-hungry Ursula. She is a 7-cost uninkable. She has 2 strength, 8 willpower, storyborn, villain, sorcerer. She quests for 3 lore. She is a legendary if you didn't know, but her ability is it's too easy. When you play this character, each opponent, yes, I said each opponent, loses 1 lore and you may draw a card for each. Yes, I said each again.
Dang.
Lore, 1 lore lost this way.
Oh
This
my
could,
gosh.
in a multiplayer format, I mean, technically you can play with more than, however many people you want. If you want to.
You can play with as many
So
as you want.
Technically, it's endless, but
Yeah.
we'll say in a typical, 4-player, you play it. Each opponent loses 3 lore. You draw 3 cards.
Yeah, for 7 ink uninkable, I'll say this. I'm glad they didn't push her too hard because I don't see this as like a insane card. I see this as like it's multiplayer useful, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Because a one-time effect for a legendary 7-cost uninkable card, like something that you only get 1 ink for, and it only has 2 strength, so like an 8 willpower body. It's not gonna like get you the punchback you really want from a 7-cost card. It's really there to quest and to just soak up challenges, which is useful. Questing for 3 is useful, but it'll probably take 2, maybe 3 challenges to take her out. But because she's 2 willpower or 2 strength, she's probably not gonna take out those challengers. Which means I really hope you got good card draw out of it, or like you drew a really good card against one opponent, or I hope you were playing against 4 people.
yeah. So my thoughts on that, I do agree. It's not the most pushed card that we've gotten. We will note that it is a sorcerer and a villain, so those keywords could
That's
come
true.
back
Yeah.
in the future. I mean, they will come back, but they could get more support.
Mhm.
Both of those. I think if they pushed this card, they would have made it a shift card,
Yeah.
and then like had a just like
base Ursula.
a base Ursula with generic, like 4,
Yeah.
like the Elsa we had earlier, 4/4, something like that, and then you could shift this a turn or 2 early out, and then it would be like, whoa, that's a little bit stronger. But
Yeah.
it being 7-cost uninkable, like it's tough.
It's gonna sit in your hand
yeah,
for a while.
it's tough. There's definitely, I mean, you can make any card in this game work. I mean, there's stuff like the Scepter of Arendelle to give support to
Yeah.
it too. I mean, there's plenty of things. I mean, that can work with this, and just it definitely could get powered up. But it by itself alone in a vacuum, it's good. It's not amazing,
Yeah.
but it's good. And we have other legendary creatures like Gontu. I mean, people feel the same way about. But certain metas come around, and holy crap, Gontu might get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we've yet to see a way, but
Yes, you
we're
never
never
know.
gonna say never. Like
Never-
Justin
you
Bieber
ne-
told us.
Yeah, you never know. But that's all I have on Ursula. What about you?
I just think overall, like, I'm happy she's in the game. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm happy she's in the game. I was expecting.
I was a little let down
Me too.
with all the build up.
As a 7-cost uninkable, now that we've gotten through more of the later reveals,
She could have been inkable. Wouldn't you
She
dare to
could-
say?
yeah, she
she
could
could have been inkable.
Definitely. I would say that there are some exceptions to this with the later reveals, but almost every single 7-cost card that's uninkable is like a shift card. so you
Yeah.
can get it cheaper
Yeah.
otherwise. But so
That's why I threw that out there.
so like this is a little bit worrisome. But we're gonna move on. We have another villain, an iconic Disney villain to discuss, and it actually has a pretty useful effect. It is the Evil Queen, Wicked and Vain. 5 cost inkable, 4/5 with 1 lore, and it has the ability I summon thee to exert and draw a card. So it gets to do the magic mirror thing for free. Who's the fairest of them all? The Evil Queen. Or it's just the Queen, by the way. She doesn't consider herself evil.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
Yeah. So what do you think of this?
I like it. I think it's definitely one of those generic cards that can go in any deck, which is what makes it awesome. I mean, 5 cost.
Everybody likes
being,
drawing cards.
Being inkable, can draw cards. So I see this as like just a good staple in Amethyst decks, mostly because like the draw is just extra value tacked on. It's just a decent statted body, and then you get the draw card. So if you need the draw, you use it, you know?
Yeah.
It can be nice in niche situations. It's not busted by any means. It's just a good card. You know, it's a good card.
Yeah. I would say the thing that saves this card to me is the 4 strength. Because
Yes.
if they would have pushed this to be like a higher willpower, lower strength card,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have
They'd
liked
have to
it.
give it more lore.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked it because lore, when you have exert draw a card, who cares about your lore? Like that's like a backup plan.
That's true. That's true.
So like you're never really going to question unless you're readying her from another means. But the thing is, to me, this is on watch for anything that allows you to ready cards. Like Fan the Flames, it's a draw 2. You know.
Yeah.
But the 4 strength saves her, and the reason I say that is because she's gonna live exerted.
Exactly.
So she's
yeah.
got to have the ability to punch a little bit because
Yeah.
she's going to be a punching bag. This is a pinata card.
Yeah.
You are not going to let someone sit there with the queen and just draw. It has a huge spotlight for banish me, because if you don't, you can play multiple.
Exactly.
You can play multiple, and they can just start drawing 3 cards per turn. You know, that's pretty nuts. But at 5 cost, I'm also very glad she's inkable.
Yes,
Because
for sure.
there are times in the game where you're not going to want to spend your 5 ink on something that can't do anything except draw a card next turn.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Does that wrap up Amethyst for us?
No, we have 2 more.
Oh, gosh. Man, the reveal's really poured in. Okay. Well, we have 1 more card. Yes. Oh, 2 more cards?
This one and this one.
Oh, man. Okay, well, 1 caught me off guard that it actually came out because it was very forgettable to me. I'm going to just go with the one first that I shouldn't have forgotten. It is Tinkerbell, a uninkable 5 cost, Peter Pan's ally. 3 strength, 3 willpower, evasive, and 2 lore. She also has the ability Loyal and Devoted. Your characters named Peter Pan gain Challenger +1. I'll say this. 2 lore, great. Evasive, great. 3 strength, great. 3 willpower, great. Giving Peter Pan Challenger +1, that's cool. 5 cost uninkable, not great.
Why did they make it uninkable?
I think they're scared to give evasive to an inkable thing in Amethyst.
I just think
with
of
2
like
lore.
I guess it's since it's Amethyst, but I think because I guess Ruby's the evasive color. I go, well,
Yeah.
look at Goofy. He's just
Yeah.
better besides the give Peter Pan Challenger 1,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
niche.
it's niche.
It
because
probably
it's
is
Amethyst.
Amethyst. Yeah, they want to. It makes sense. You know, they got to balance it some way and say Ruby is the evasive color, but this is the side evasive color.
And I will say this. If there is some meta situation where evasive decks are really good, but Amethyst has good options that are like you want to play a control deck, and evasive decks are also oppressive in the meta, an evasive meta deck is going to need answers. And one of the answers is going to be playing a control deck that's Emerald and Amethyst.
Yeah.
That you're going to have your own Peter Pan that's an evasive that can crack back into him, and he's a 3/2. Or, yeah, he's a 3/2.
He would be a 4/2 when he challenged with Tinkerbell.
So, which would let you clear everything up to 6 cost
Mhm.
on the evasive train. Actually, yeah, even Genie is a 6 cost. So Tinkerbell's pretty solid in that regard. It's like a synergy piece for control decks. But I just think it's a lot to like ask you to play the uninkable aspect of it in that control scenario. So it's pretty tough. The other card that we have, that's the last one, is another uninkable card, which is why it's kind of worrisome to me. It's an uninkable 2-cost action called Freeze, and it is the freeze ability from Elsa. Exert chosen opposing character.
It could have been inkable.
It could have been inkable. I agree.
I mean, Elsa's stats for one more in the same color.
And they ready next turn anyways.
Yeah, and they ready next turn. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't see that card getting played.
No,
not in a standard format.
In the world we live in with such high quality uninkable count, Freeze ain't it.
Yeah, no,
it ain't it. I'm ice cold on Freeze. Yeah. All right, that wraps up Amethyst.
That
right?
wraps up Amethyst.
Okay. So next up we have Emerald. Emerald is a beloved color to me. I won't say it takes Ruby slot at all as my favorite, but with the reveals we've gotten, and it deserved it, by the way, and they only had 11 cards for the longest time. Emerald is one of those inks that I'm like continuously like, man, that's a good card.
They didn't slow drip Emerald at all. They said,
no, I
boom.
mean like, yeah, they pretty much held Emerald back like, like the last ice cube in your cup. And it's just like, brothers, hold. And then it just falls on you and it always gets in your face. But yeah,
always.
Speaking of really good cards that they've been holding on to and not telling us about for a long time that definitely would have changed the way we tested decks, you have the Temperamental Emperor himself. I just watched this movie last night because I was so dope, like hyped about this card, man.
Nice.
I love it. 5-cost, uninkable, I don't care. Kuzco, Temperamental Emperor. 2 strength, 4 willpower, with 3 lore. And the most important aspect of the card that changes the way he plays, Ward. Because he also has the ability, no touchy. When this character is challenged and banished, you may banish the challenging character. He is the Chesh of Death. And I cannot express how much, like, this guy is like, he makes his way into evasive decks. Because I'm like, I got to find a slot for Kuzco. I got to. It's literally everything I wanted Cheshire Cat to be. I liked him a lot. Like, I'm sure you did too. Like, you like Cheshire Cat's effects. Cheshire Cat's not, I don't think like some people I've heard, I don't think Cheshire Cat is a bad card.
No.
Some people would disagree with us in that regard. They'd say he just doesn't do enough because questing for 2 unanswered is not good, apparently. But the thing is, Cheshire Cat falls victim to low-cost things challenging into him. And like 1-cost things can trade with him pretty easily. Because 3 is an easier target to get to. He can get smashed. He can get fire the cannons and a 1-strength pings into him. With Kuzco, though, that Ward is
the main reason this card is insane. It goes from good to insane because of Ward.
Ward literally says it's the synergy between the combos of like opponents can't choose this character except to challenge. And by the way, when you challenge, you're going to die.
Exactly.
I'm taking you with me. I love it so much. And what's the reward for actually questing with him? 3 lore.
Yeah, that's what pushes the card to like insane playable because it's 3. If it was 2, I think people would leave him alone for a little while.
Yeah.
But being 3 is really good.
Dude, with 3 lore at 5 cost, he comes down, especially when you go first. He comes down, and the beauty of it is they have to have something. If you go first and play Kuzco, and they're not like on some higher ink count by ramping or something, they have to have something that can challenge into him at the 4-cost slot that can effectively remove him for them to feel good about it. But then that's like, or technically they can have a 5-cost because he has to exert next turn. But that's besides the point. They have to play something right then and there that's going to answer Kuzco. If they already have it on board, you already know that. So you go into the whole situation expecting him to get removed. But if they don't, 3 lore is the kind of clock. That's the number. 2's good, but 3 is like not just 50% better than 2 lore. It's past the math of it. It's like 3 lore is exponentially better than 2 lore and the kind of clock it puts on a game.
Yeah, I just find it like this and Cheshire Cat in the same deck could be very annoying because Chesh already gets you ahead, and I get that he can be removed with other means and stuff, and not every deck's going to play both. He can be removed for with other stuff, and he is inkable, which is nice. So you don't have to if you don't need to play him. But that whole just getting banished and then whatever takes me out, you're going out too. And
Yeah.
4 is a huge number because it doesn't get killed by any of the AoEs easily. You
Yeah.
know, you got to have 2 or something else. You
Yeah.
know, so you do get, you know, be prepared is one of the main things. But I mean, if they're playing Be Prepared and taking all of out, I mean, they're playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that's just the card, and the card needs to be in the meta for things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
Kuzco, insanely good card.
I also was really happy to see that he's not 6 cost,
Yeah,
just because I do want the ability, like my uninkable count in like in a Ruby Emerald deck is typically I lean on like I've cut my Dragonfire count down a little bit because I know I want to play tempo. Like I'm not always wanting to answer your stuff, but I want to have the contingency to do it. I've put it to like bumping it up to like 13, 14 and playing 4 Cusco, 4 Genie, 3 Dragonfire, like 2 Be Prepared.
Yeah.
And then sitting with that and calling it good. Because that to me is like Cusco and Genie pair so well together. You went through all the resources to get rid of this dude, and now I throw a Genie on you, and whatever you just put down, send it back. Do it again. It's beautiful. But we got more cards to discuss, so let's get to it.
So another very disruptive card, and I actually really like this card because it is Flynn Rider, Charming Rogue. He is a 2-cost inkable, which is great. He's a 1 strength, 2 willpower, quest for 2 lore, and his ability, the disruption part, is Here Comes the Smolder. Whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card.
2 lores magnificent on this effect.
Yes, getting this out early, it questing and getting you closer to your win con. And then if they want to take it out, they got to lose something from their hand.
Yeah.
Of course, they could have no hand, but that you're good. You're in good shape if they got no hand. I mean, so it's super strong. I mean, it's going to be in a lot of Emerald decks. I mean, I could see a lot of like Corellas coming out for stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, Corella is good in its own right because it's very versatile, but this having the 2 lore is good. Makes it a step ahead.
Yeah. As far as the way I think about this card, I like to think about like in a gameplay scenario, where's my head at when I'm going against this, or where's my head at when I'm playing it? But what's more important is like when I'm going against it, like how easy in my mind can I think of it is like in a realistic game scenario to work around this? And what I think is like if they play Flynn and I'm already trying to like go through my thought process of what I'm going to ink, what I'm going to play on those early turns, because you spent your whole mulligan planning that and thinking about that.
Yeah.
Coming down on turn 2 and then immediately on turn 3 starting the questing clock of 2, you're getting to the point where like discarding a card hurts because it interferes with your plan. You're hoping you top deck something that you don't mind discarding.
Exactly.
Because that you've set up your mulligan to actually prepare turns out, and he just disrupts that. So if he was like, I'll say this, if he was 2 cost and had like aggressive stats but low lore, I wouldn't like this at all.
Oh yeah.
Because it would be like, well, what are you really clocking me with? Like, I don't have to take care of this. It's 1 lore. Like, I don't care.
That's kind of how Corella gets. A lot of people just leave it.
Yeah. She's good. Like,
yeah,
she does her thing, but her 1 lore is a hurt because you're thinking like you're not gonna win because of Cruella.
Exactly.
It's just the 1 slowly. But with Flynn, that's something you're gonna have to eat the card. You're gonna have to because
early on,
Yeah.
you can't let it go too many. I mean, if this gets this quest twice, who
cares?
cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
And he's taking a card no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether he kills someone in a challenge somehow because they want to throw a 1/1 in or something late, or whether they fire the cannons him, they still discarded a card. And if anything, if he ate a fire the cannons and they dodge the whole challenge banish, you got them to discard a fire the cannons.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty good. So good stuff. Now, I want to take a moment. We had a little bit ago where we talked about Shift Elsa. We talked about Shift Dr. Facilier.
Oh baby.
But now we get to talk about 2 of one of my favorite characters in all of Disney. First, we got to bring up the obligatory vanilla, a 2-cost, 2/3, 1 lore character in Emerald called Genie the Ever Impressive. I don't want to waste your time. That's a Minnie Mouse, but it's Genie. I don't care. What I really care about is the Shift Genie. An 8-cost uninkable, but can shift for 6, 3 strength, 5 willpower, 3 lore, evasive. And if that was it, I honestly would still kind of be okay with it because it's a 3 lore clock on an evasive. The beauty of Genie is that he has one last ability. He has phenomenal cosmic power. Whenever this character quests, which you already want to do, you may play an action with cost 5 or less for free.
For free. There's so many. Okay, so we already know that Emerald Steel pair very well together because they're very controlling. And Steel just has to happen to have 2 of the best 5 cost actions in the game.
Yeah. What are they?
A Whole New World. And the other one,
grab your swords.
Grab your sword. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's like he gets to sing them, but also quest in the process in that regard.
And there's other great 5 cost ones. I mean, you think about Dragonfire. You think about Let It Go. I mean, there's 5 cost actions are really good in this game.
Yeah, they're usually statted to be, or not statted, they're usually costed to be like, I'm going to take your turn and I'm going to be worth it.
Exactly. And I'm glad you kind of said this. Even if he didn't have that ability, you would still be pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Not as happy, but you'd be pretty happy because he has the shift 6. Well, that just shows to tell you if you don't have one of those 5 cost cards in your hand, it's still okay to play it.
It's still good.
I mean, it still shifts, especially if you shift it onto the other one that we just spoke about, the 2 cost one. But if you shift it on the other one, it's still a 3 lore, clock. Mm-hmm. It's got evasive. It's a little, it's just there. But that 5 cost action for free is when you're really going to want to play it. But
yeah, I've seen this joke about the art of this, and it is true. He looks like Genie became the Green Power Ranger.
Yes, 100%.
But that's not a bad thing because the Green Power Ranger is the most iconic one. Just a little bit of art appreciation there.
I agree.
Thank you, Javier Salas. The evasive clock. What's the most scary evasive we know before this guy? It was Mickey B.T.
Yeah, Brave Little Taylor.
He quests for 4. That is an exponentially better number than 3. But like we said before, 3 is an exponentially better number than 2. It's not just like what the math dictates. It's not just 50% better. It's like 100% better as far as its clock on the game. Genie shifting on turn 6 means he's questing on turn 6. So questing for 3 with evasive is insane to me. It demands an answer. And with 5 willpower, you dodge the possibility, especially shifting on turn 6, you dodge getting removed from that notorious double grab your sword effect of I'm going to sing grab your sword, I'm going to play grab your sword. That's not going to take him out. He still has one, so they're going to need a Hans, they're going to need a Tinkerbell, they're going to need something.
And if they're using all that, you're okay because you probably already got your card for free out of your hand, so you're happy.
Oh gosh, dude! If you can quest for 6 or you can shift 6, quest for 3, play a 5 cost action for free.
Value.
That's such a value.
Value.
I love how Genie is the tempo card. Because because he's so good at singing and he's so good at just being the man who's taking charge. It's so thematic. And thank you, Ravensburger and Disney. We love it. So what's the next setup?
So the next card, I'm going to give a shout out to Tyler of the podcast. Yeah. He loves Treasure Planet. And I know there's other Treasure Planet people out there.
Yeah.
Comment below because when this card got revealed, people went crazy. And that is John Silver, Alien Pirate. He's a 6 cost inkable, 5 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore. He is a storyborn villain, alien, pirate, captain. A lot of keywords there. His ability is pick your fights. When you play this character and whenever he quests, chosen opposing character gains reckless during their next turn. This card is awesome. I mean, just getting it, the gain reckless on play was already one thing. And when I first read it, I was like, please do more than just that.
Yeah.
Please do more than just that. And he does whenever he quests. I mean, you're just going to keep questing with this guy. Who cares if he's a 5/5 and they take him out? Quest away.
He's hitting people back with that 5 strength. He's hitting them back hard, too.
And I know a lot of people reckless has been not their favorite keyword. It's been seemed to be a little weaker than some things, but this is just free to me. Free reckless.
Yeah.
I mean, you just keep questing away, getting it when he's played, and then questing away is, I mean, there's going to be reckless decks out there that have a lot of that use in there with Iago and this, and they're really going to be annoying because you're going to think, oh, it's not that bad when there's a couple reckless. But when everything's giving your stuff reckless, you're going to start getting really annoying.
Yeah.
And then you're swinging into a 5/5 if he's the only thing on board.
You're okay with that.
You're okay with that because you're going to kill most things because that 5 strength.
And to me, this effect is strong enough. I know he can't quest on the turn he's played, but he still gets his effect when he's played. So he has an immediate impact on the board, which is it's great for tempo and maintaining that advantage in the game. The thing is, he's inkable.
Exactly. That's what makes this card
didn't
good.
expect that.
A lot of the things that are major tempo plays, like we spoke about the Genie before, is uninkable. He's shift,
Yeah.
but he's uninkable. So, and the other Genie is uninkable, the 6-cost one. So a lot of those main tempo plays, but this one's inkable and it's still tempo play. Yes, you need something else if you want the reckless to matter, but just stopping them from questing if they have to challenge is really good.
Yeah, this guy is going to be a menace to princess decks.
Yes.
Because a lot of them are going to be wanting to quest with typically their understated bodies but high lore counts. So at this point in the game, when you're playing a 6-cost on play, you're going to be hitting your Moanas. You're going to be hitting your Aurora Dreaming Guardians. If Aurora's out, it's definitely going to be a good strategy like for them. They're just going to protect Reckless from being given to anyone else, but he's going to force Aurora to quest. So they're going to swing into something on your board. Maybe not him, but
if he's just questing later, very next turn, if he quests and Aurora has to swing into him, Aurora's gone.
Yeah,
it's removal for Aurora right there.
Yeah,
so it's
great stuff.
It's really good card, and I know, like I said, the Treasure Planet people are very happy to see it already shown a little bit into the first chapter. What's our next card?
Yeah. Our next card is something that is equally annoying to me. Even if you're not giving me Reckless stops me from questing and it makes me challenge. But something that is just as annoying is just being told I can't quest. Like, that's the most important text to me of Reckless. Not that I have to challenge, it's that I can't quest.
Exactly.
And Mother Gothel is an expert at it. She is a 6-cost inkable. Again, inkable. What the heck? 3 strength, 6 willpower, 2 lore, and she has skip the drama, stay with mama. While this character is exerted, opposing characters can't quest. Can we please, she has 3 strengths. She's going to take out stuff that's lower costed. That is so annoying. As I don't like that brand of Emerald.
For you hate it. There's other people licking their chops.
No, I'm licking my chops if I'm not playing an evasive deck.
Yeah.
But as an evasive deck lover, that's the strategy I've loved. Nothing quite yet has, except for John Silver, of course, nothing quite yet has made me say, my answer, at least, to everyone saying, what are you going to do to my deck? I'm going to say, I'll just quest. I have evasives. And this card says, no, you need to answer her. It doesn't matter if she doesn't have evasive. You need to challenge her.
You're the Emerald player who likes half the Emerald.
Yes.
You don't like the denial part. You like the tempo parts with the bouncing and stuff.
It's like in Magic. I like blue for its card draw.
Yeah.
Not for its interaction,
Counter. But this, I am happy it's in the game. It's definitely one of those cards that whenever you're going against Emerald, you got to think about.
Yeah.
And it's just having... Just like I've said about other things in the past, having that ability in the game makes the game better because it makes you think. And then you go as an Emerald player, you have only a certain amount of spots. We've talked about a lot of good Emerald cards, So you only have a certain amount of slots. So if the meta needs it, you play this, and that's what's nice is it can counter things. It's just like we needed be prepared. I mean, yes, it is 7 cost. It's singable, thank goodness. It's not, the best. It just needs to be in the game. And this is something that needs to be in the game. Just stopping your opponents from just questing, because I could see, later on in metas and stuff like that where it's just quest. And it's solitaire almost to an extent. And this makes you think. That.
She is the anti-solitaire card.
Exactly.
She stops you from playing your lore rush deck. And
she's not impossible. I mean, you could trade. A lot of things have 3. Attack or strength.
Yeah.
So you could trade 2 into it pretty easily. I mean, 2 forceful duelists trade into it. I mean, that's great value, but they're going to try to protect this card at all costs, of course, but it's not where you're sitting there going, oh, this is, unbeatable. It can be removed. It can be a lot of things,
This is something that I really think, I don't know if it's going to matter by turn 7 when she could quest, but the thing is, if she is exerted on turn 7, if the lore rush deck has not necessarily won by that point, this is a decent little answer to like, hey, Lore Rush deck, use those inefficient, challenging bodies. Deal with this. You have to, because you can no longer just ignore me and quest away with your little 1s and 2 costs.
Exactly.
You can't do it. You're Lilo making a wish for a card to get rid of this.
Exactly.
Because you're going to have to run into me. Sorry. And that's refreshing. Credit where it's due. I feel like a lot of you at home will agree with me who like evasives. This whole time you've been sitting here going, nothing's going to deal with me. I'm just going to quest with my evasives and then tempo out, be too hard to answer. I'm going to make the meta, boy. Like, I'm going to make it. And then Mother Gothel came out. Yep. So it just messed things up. Undone by one of my favorite inks.
Exactly.
Dang.
And the next card is another card that really hurts those evasive strategies, and that's Jasper, the Common Crook. He is a 3-cost inkable, 2 strength, 4 willpower, and he has 1 lore. But the most important part, he has puppy napping. Whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. Another thing to stop you from questing at 3 costs and inkable.
Yeah. The thing is with this guy, I'll say this. Similar-ish in effect. I get it. It's locking down quests. But this is a cost. At 3 cost, this is a card I can even see weaving into my own decks. Just as a matchup thing. Like, I can see playing Jasper in my own decks that I splash Emerald into, just because if princesses are a big meta player, or if any cards that are high lore, like if we're getting to those, like, heck, Genies, Elsa's, Spirit of Winters, Mickey BLTs, if they're a problem in the meta, Jasper's a great answer.
Oh, yeah.
Because for 3 ink, you can say, and never mind on that. I'll do whatever I need to do right now. So it's a good little one-off answer, kind of like Elsa Spirit of Winter,
It's
honestly.
whenever he quests, too, so it's not on play.
Oh, wow.
So it's every time he quests.
Oh.
So he could keep locking down.
Well, like I said, I play him, you know? So he's good. In my head, he was when played, but
he needs to be dry, so the ink can't be wet. But when he's dry, he can keep questing, and
oh my gosh,
just locking down those things. Yeah, those things can swing at him, but okay, you took care of my 3-cost 2/4 that stopped you from questing.
You still stopped him from questing, and you can always use this on a card. Like, I don't know if Mickey BLT wants to swing into this guy, but he just might have to.
He might have to.
He just might have to. Now, he does get paired up with his best friend in the 101 Dalmatian universe, and that's Horace, No Good Scoundrel. But I think I can speak for the majority of the community, and unless you're building a 101's Dalmatians themed deck, you're probably not going to want to play a bunch of Horace, because Horace is a 3-cost inkable, 4 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore vanilla. 3 cost is already a very crowded spot for Emerald. I could think of about 33 other cards in Emerald I'd rather play, and they have 34 cards. So I'm not a huge fan of this.
Even the other Mickey with the reverse stats, 3/4.
I like 3/4 better than 4/3.
Exactly, and
sure.
he can be shifted on and all that. But
yeah,
he's still on that make for that ally get abilities deck.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But there has to be cards like this. There has
because
to be cards
Jasper,
like this.
I know he's the brains of the organization, but the muscle deserves some
Give him
respect
reckless.
too. Do something.
Give him reckless.
Yeah, who cares?
Do something.
Yeah, it's a little sad, but hey.
Got to have common cards like that too, though.
Yeah, let's move on. We do have a card that actively wants to be challenged, and I love when that happens. 5-cost, inkable, Mad Hatter, Gracious Host. He is 2 strength, 4 willpower. Say it for me, Alex. How much lore?
3 lore.
And he has the ability Tea Party. Whenever this character is challenged, you may draw a card. Oh yes, this is so good. You have to have a target on your back to have a card to have an ability like that. I can't think of what puts a better card or a target on your back than having 3 lore at the 5-cost slot, kind of like we said with Kuzco. Keep in mind, Horace is susceptible to some targeted removal. He doesn't have ward.
Mad Hatter.
Oh, did I say?
You said horse.
I said, oh, I have Horace on the
I got you.
Mad Hatter is susceptible to removal because he doesn't have ward. So you can get stuff like double grab your swords or smash and fire the cannon, something like that. You can get Tinkerbell. Everything can. But if they're doing that to get rid of your Mad Hatter, you're not that mad. You've pulled out some pretty good resources for something that you just wanted to draw the occasional card off of. More often than not, though, you're just going to get 3 lore.
So
you're going to get really happy about it.
for sure. So 2 things that I'm bringing up. This is the only card draw in Emerald.
Oh, man.
The only. So this is a staple in Emerald for me on that. Second thing,
yeah.
think about turn 5 this. Turn 6, quest, then play the captain.
Oh,
John Silver. Play John Silver.
man.
Then you got to challenge me, attack me,
Yeah.
and then boom, draw a card. So
that's great.
So I mean, the tempo of turn 5 to turn 6 makes me actually like this card more. And then you're getting 3 lore because you've already quested with him on that turn. So this is I just double checked and went through. This is the only card draw we have for Emerald. We have
Goodness gracious.
recursion pieces and we
Yeah.
have tempo of bouncing and stuff, but that means he's gonna be very necessary. I'm very glad he's inkable because of that reason. Because if he was uninkable, he'd be fighting for those slots. So
yeah, this
card is most likely a staple in most Emerald decks as long as they don't have a lot of support from the other deck in card draw. Half the deck.
And what's nice too is like even though he's not hitting back for a lot with 2, a lot of other 5-cost slots, it kind of it's easy to forget. Like Jumba Jukiba, he's a vanilla Emerald 4-cost or 5-cost. He's a 4/5 with 2 lore. If Jumba gets dealt with, he did nothing for you, essentially. He's usually going to get 2 lore for you, but he's still done. This guy, if they are getting rid of him, he's at least getting you a replacement for himself. And more often than not, by turn 5, they might not have something that can challenge with 4 strength. So they have to weigh the options. Like, are they going to give you 2 cards?
Exactly. And I kind of wish he had 5 willpower, but I like that he has the 2 because it still makes him challengeable. You can send stuff that has 3 willpower in.
Yeah, if he was like a 4/4, people would be like, I forget it.
I'm just not going to challenge unless the lore clock of the 3 matters more. But him being a 2/4, like I said, I kind of wish he was a 2/5, but he got 3 lore, so you can't really complain too much.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Mad Hatter is like a game breaker, but I will say, just like Kuzco, that 3 lore, that's a game changer.
And it's a
makes
necessary
the
card being the only card draw. I mean, they
Good
needed
insight
something.
there. That's a good insight.
So our next card is a insanely strong card. It is Steal from the Rich. It's a 5-cost uninkable action. Whenever one of your characters quests this turn, each opponent loses 1 lore.
Each opponent, ding, 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 multiplayer, of course.
Ding, ding, ding. But just draining your opponents every time you quest. Each one.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a wide board or a controlled board, and this would just Mad Hatter. I mean, it's insane.
This is like a magical Christmas land scenario, but it's fun to dream these things, so why not? Imagine a future, because not right now, imagine a future Sapphire Emerald item deck where Ariel, who's a collector, is questing and readying multiple times with cheap items, but you preempt it on that one turn with a Steal from the Rich, and you get like multiple Ariels in the late game that you've been building up, and it's just like, I know you were about to win, but I'm going to build up. I'm going to quest like 9 times.
Yeah.
You're going to lose 9 lore, so you're definitely not going to win next turn, and I have Ariels that are going to get me to that win right after this.
Yeah.
So like, this is a multiplayer card, but even in a go wide strategy, if you were doing like an Amber Emerald go wide deck, this can be a serious burner. Like you quest with 3 characters with this, I think it's worth the 5.
Yeah, I can say that because you're getting so you're questing your stuff and then they're getting drained. I definitely agree. I'm very glad this is not a song.
Yeah.
If this was a song, it would be very busted.
Yeah.
But I mean, just think about 4 of the last characters we talked about: John Silver, Jasper, Mad Hatter, and Mother Gothel all want to be questing because they all get their stuff from either questing or being exerted.
Yep.
I mean, every single one of those want that. So Emerald wants to quest. I mean, we talked about Cheshire and Cusco. They want to quest.
They want to.
So this card just pairs well with Emerald so well.
There's the Emerald setup too of like, especially in early testing because we didn't have many cards. A lot of the early Emerald game was the same. It was like turn 1 you didn't do anything because you didn't have a 1-drop. Turn 2 you drop a Cruella. Turn 3 you drop a Cheshire Cat. Turn 4 you drop probably another Cruella or Cheshire Cat, and you're questing with them the whole time. Well, on turn 5 with this, you have your 3. that you want to be questing with and your follow-up, and they've lost lore because they've probably been ignoring you and not challenging into you. They've probably been questing, rewind their clock, gain lore, they lose lore, reset back to whatever it was. You pretty much got all that lore for free. That's solid. I can see I can see this being like the top end of a deck.
Yeah.
Bunch of low drops. You fill it out, you flood the board, and before they can really give you that board wipe, you say, lose the lore. I'm gonna gain a bunch. I'm gonna quest a bunch. Then they're like completely reset from all the incremental progress they were made while they were trying to just stave off your win. And then in the course of the end game, you just kind of hold a few more 1-drops or 2-drops in your hand. Don't play them out, and then in one turn, play them all out. Force the answer. Next turn, win the game.
Exactly.
It'd be beautiful. All right, so we have another card that is near and dear to my heart. She's actually much like her subtitle suggests. We'll get to that. A 4-cost inkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore. She is Tinkerbell, most helpful. She has evasive. As a 2/3, 4-cost, 2 lore, evasive means that she's already a Pongo. Already. She's already pretty much equal to Ruby in that regard. But she's better because she has the on-play effect, Pixie Dust. Whenever you play this character, chosen character gains evasive this turn. Hallelujah. We have something that can give my Kuzco evasive.
Yeah. Ooh, Kuzco.
Yeah.
And this, once again, so much of a needed effect in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
this one card can give any card evasive. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so nice. And it's on play, so it's not repeatable, but it is repeatable when you bounce it with Genie if you want, or bounce it with other cards. So
yeah.
giving your stuff evasive, if you're mildly evasive in your deck, and they're, we'll just say Ruby, Emerald, because it's a lot of evasive. If they're ton of evasive, well, boom, this Tinkerbell just slots in perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If not, like you said, it's a Pongo. Worst case scenario, it's a Pongo. Pongo is not bad.
And if you're not playing evasives, then she actually is still even more useful.
Yeah.
Because she gets them evasive. Typically in an evasive deck, from what I've seen in my deck building, you only play non-evasives when they are already insane for their cost.
Exactly.
Giving them evasive either doesn't matter because you're going to quest with them anyways, or they're a stat stick that has some ridiculously good on-play ability, like Aladdin Heroic Outlaw or Aladdin Street Rat to build up to him. Like Aladdin Heroic Outlaw, I know that he's going to swing and kill something, and then something's usually going to crack back into him because he doesn't have evasive. But the one thing Aladdin Heroic Outlaw can't do when you typically play him in those decks is he cannot deal with your opposing evasives. But now, on the follow-up turn, if they don't have a clean answer they want to throw into Aladdin, like a Genie or something, you can use your Aladdin to just Tinkerbell, give them evasive, use your Aladdin Heroic Outlaw, take out their Genie. They were never expecting this.
Yeah.
Like anything
Or
you have
even-
that's aggressive.
Or even taking out like a Pascal, because he only does
Yes.
1 damage back to you.
Yeah, you could use
So-
like your Captain Hook Forceful Duelist or something to take out the Pascal for you.
Yeah. Oh.
So you're not investing a heavy challenge. Like that's beautiful because eventually you're going to reach a critical mass of like my whole deck's evasive. With enough sets coming out, you can just get all evasive.
Oh, yeah.
But Tinkerbell is really an evasive for people who don't want to play all evasives.
Exactly.
She makes it all the non-evasive pairs are excellent.
Yeah, the
with
decks
her.
where go, okay, well, I need something to do with evasive decks if I run into
You
it.
play Robin Hoods
Tinkerbell.
and you play Simbas because they have pounce or
Yeah.
like the reach and stuff to like hit the evasives on your turn.
You don't necessarily have to have those anymore.
You don't.
You just play
Tinkerbell
Tinkerbell
does it.
and go, now I have an answer for evasive if I need it.
Yeah.
So
and she quests for 2.
Exactly.
It's good.
Exactly.
Golly, that's good stuff.
So
I like it.
Our next card, we're going back to one of my favorite people in the Lorcana first chapter, but it's Dr. Facilier's cards. It's an item. It's 2-cost uninkable, and its effect is the cards will tell. Exert it. You may pay 1 less for the next action you play this turn. So it's like a lantern for actions.
Yeah.
I think action heavy decks will be happy with this. I don't know.
Lady Tremaine decks.
Yeah, Lady Tremaine decks would like it. I don't see it being super playable. Lantern's good because it's character based. I think I like Lantern a little bit more because characters have stats.
Last.
They have and they get you your win condition with questing.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I don't love it.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that I'm like, I already don't play Lantern. I don't see Lantern, even though it is a ramping effect, kind of like Mana Rocks and Magic. It's a ramping effect, but it's temporary ramp because it can get removed. Also, it's kind of like an extra land drop if you think about it, that like you have to use conditionally. It's like having an ink that can only tap for characters or only exert for characters.
Yeah.
You know, this gives you an ink every turn that only exerts for actions.
Yeah.
So it's not like good ramp, but a lot of the good actions we've seen are uninkable
Mm-hmm.
in the game. Even like do it again.
Yeah.
That gets you actions back. It's uninkable. You would want that in an action deck.
Exactly.
This being uninkable it hurts a little bit, but the thing is, this can stack.
Yeah.
So if you do play multiple of these, you can at least know, like, even if I don't have as much ink as I would want, this uninkable kind of acts like the ink that I would have wanted to cast that action. So you can get multiple out. You can cast stuff like a Stampede for free. You can cast stuff like a Do It Again for 2, or if you have multiple of these for even cheaper.
I won't
I don't
add
love
much to it, but for Lantern and this, I think one of the things that we kind of overlook is ramp is way better in Commander than it is for single player. You don't see a lot of ramp in 1v1 because you're just trying to tempo out and play. But in Commander or multiplayer in this,
it's slow.
You ramp. You slow. You don't look like a threat. You don't want to be the first threat. Because if you're the first threat, you're getting dealt with, you know? So you either can hang or you can't. So pieces like this in action decks and Lantern for character decks will be better in multiplayer.
Yeah. That is an interesting side note I just want to say before we round out part 1 with the last few cards. A multiplayer aspect, this is a little gem for everyone who's stuck around this long into part 1. The beauty of this multiplayer experience in this game is that every single person will always be a part of the game for the entire game, because you can't get knocked out in Lorcana. Everybody's always playing until somebody wins. No one can get teamed up on and then have to watch their friends play for 3 hours. It's a great feeling. That does, though, change a little bit of the dynamic that you were talking about, Alex, with like your point that like you don't want to be the early threat because you get dealt with. In Lorcana, when you get dealt with, it's like you get your board wiped or something, or like you get your stuff chosen by the Cheshire Cat. You get your stuff chosen by the Cruella de Vil. And in this game, I think that ramping like that, because that ramp sits there the whole time, it's unless someone removes that item, it like you stay the threat the whole time. Like they can't really deal with you and just say like get out of the game. You know, like they have to deal with you.
Yeah, there definitely is a difference.
And they have to deal with your items eventually, or it will just be a forever problem. You know, they can't deal with your life total. So that's something to think about. We do have a couple cards that we don't really consider to be like crazy, but they are still good enough to mention. We want to make sure they get their time in the shine. So we're going to start with Megara, pulling the strings. She is a 2-cost inkable 2/1 with 1 lore. And she says, Wonder Boy, when you play this character, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. It's a tempo piece.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I would say it's better off later in the game. Whenever you are in like that turn 6, turn 5, turn 7, somewhere in there. And you can kind of get that surprise knockout from a 3-cost. Like turn a 3-cost into a 6-cost killer. Something like that. But nothing crazy. I don't think that she's inkable, which means she's always going to be playable for that effect, but I don't think she's that insane. The other card is Stolen Scimitar that I do love because it's Aladdin based. It has Aladdin in the title, but giving like it's an item that is 2-cost inkable that saves it. As an item, it has an exert effect that you can do immediately, but it says chosen character gets +1 strength this turn. If a character named Aladdin is chosen, he gets +2 instead. That's nice for Aladdin decks one day in 2027 when we have enough Aladdins to play an all Aladdin deck. Maybe this card becomes like super meta, but I don't think a full Aladdin deck will be super meta. But Stolen Scimitar does have enough potential where giving 1 strength can be relevant in certain situations. Like we always talk about the threshold. You have 3 willpower, 4 willpower. It makes a big difference on what can take care of you. Stolen Scimitar fixes the math. So it has value. I just think you have to be getting that +2 to make it worth the ink and the card. So something to consider.
So the next card we have is Sudden Chill. It's an action song card. It's 2 cost inkable, and its effect is each opponent chooses and discards a card. It is Corella DeVille's Sudden Chill, so she can sing her own card, which always makes us happy when that happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. Each opponent discards a card, so if you're trying to make people discard, you're going to want to play this. If you don't really care, you're not going to play it.
Yeah. The fact that it's a song is cool, but like we said with Reflection, the lower cost the song, the less you are care about singing
I
it.
can't tell how many times I play Be Our Guest instead of singing it. I mean, and that's a good one, in my opinion. Out of the 2 cost songs, it's a good one. So this is the same thing. It's just, if you want that kind of ability in your deck, I think you're going to play it. But if not, it's going to be a card you can easily pass on.
Yeah. The last one we have is a 2 cost inkable little baby. It's Tamatoa, Drab Little Crab. 1 strength, 4 willpower, and 1 lore. I repeat, that was a 2 cost with 4 willpower. It's a great thing. The only thing we know of that can take this out in 1 hit is a Gaston at equivalent cost. So it's worthwhile to say, this little baby can stick. He loves shiny things, and he will definitely be around to see him. And we'll bring him up later in part 2. Stay tuned, folks. Send us out, Digital Tyler.
Thanks again, guys, for listening to Ready Set Live. If you could, like and share the content and subscribe to the channel, as well as hitting that notification bell for updates on when we post new content. Don't forget to leave a comment as we check for any questions that you guys might have, as well as things to add to our mailbag portion of the podcast. And who knows, maybe your question will be answered in the next episode. And thanks again to Texarkana Podcast Studio for their contribution in making this episode possible. As always, this is the crew from Ready Set Draw, ending our turn.